Hello and welcome to the Franchise Territory Mapping Summit. My name is Lawrence. I'm the head of marketing here at MangoMap. We are the leading franchise sales and territory mapping platform, helping franchises across the globe create, manage, and sell more franchise territories, normally within 90 days. I'm joined again by Paul Gager, our resident mapping expert. For anyone who's skipped ahead to the end, because this is in today's topic, we were talking about actually selling franchise territories. Maybe, Paul, you just want to give, for anyone who skipped ahead, maybe you just want to give an introduction about yourself, some of the clients that you've worked with and what you do at Mango.
Yeah, thanks, Lawrence, and great to talk with you again. So really my role at MangoMap is to work with people, franchisors, who are launching into selling franchises, and to help them to incorporate territory mapping into that process. And as we've been talking about, territories are a great way to increase sales of franchises in the way that clear and concise information can be presented, and it presents a compelling use case for somebody to invest in a particular area and really get them excited about that investment.
That last point is essentially what we've been building up to throughout the course of of these talks that we've been going through throughout this summit. If anyone has skipped ahead or has anyone missed any of the last or any of the previous talks, I'd highly advise to go and check those out. And we go through step by step how you can actually switch to a data-driven territory strategy, about the different types of data that you'll be working with, and how you can apply a strategy to that to really distill down the business opportunity that you offer. And then ultimately about how to package that all up and sell it to potential investors and franchisees, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So I think we'll start, Paul, with the general benefits of using territories to sell franchises. I think let's start high level, and then we can work through and really get into some detail later in the talk. So
yeah, sure. Thanks, Lawrence. I mean, the main benefits are twofold, really. The first is that the size of the opportunity that's present in an area can be clearly conveyed to somebody. So, how many people live in the area, how many people in a certain income bracket or a certain age bracket. These are potential customers of that particular business. So it's really, in a sense, an addressable market of which that business owner might hope to capture some percentage of. So these are real numbers based on household surveys. So it gives some hard data, some real data to work on. And then the second aspect is, we're drawing a boundary. So those people are inside that area. That boundary is clear, and so that gives the prospect or the franchisee the confidence that they can go ahead and develop the business there without fear of competition from adjacent businesses under the same group. And competitively, of course, you're always going to find competitors. But certainly to operate within those boundaries and address that market in an effective way, that's really what a territory presents to somebody.
So it's a defined boundary that people can buy into. It's real, up-to-date information that you've built that territory with. I mean, we delve into that in previous talks in this summit. But it's that defined boundary. It's the data within that. It's real numbers. I think that when we've done this before, because we've worked with like a lot of franchise brands now, building this process out, and that presenting opportunity to people when they're in during that sales, when they're in the sales process, is the real differentiator. The area is packaged. It's got all of the information in, and the franchisee can really just have a look around and see exactly what they're buying into. They can see the opportunity. It's been visualized. So I think that they are the general benefits.
Yeah.
So I think let's bring this alive a little bit. So let's say, imagine a scenario where you've just launched in a city. What techniques would you use in order to really start driving that growth process and start selling territories to new prospects?
That's a great question. If you go to a new city and you've got a lot of territories on offer, it's going to look like a sea of green. Everything's available. if somebody comes in and they already have a clear idea about where they want to operate, maybe they know the area, maybe they live and work there, and they'll have a quick look at the territory and say, "Yep, I agree. This is going to really work." They might just go straight ahead. But a common scenario that we see is people are not yet sure where they might want to operate. They're thinking, where's the best opportunity in the city. And so rather than just give them, 50 territories to choose from, you can be a bit selective in how you present them. For example, you might withhold some territories and keep them for later, and just present what you believe to be the ones with the greatest opportunity. Maybe they have, the highest density of people in your demographic. Maybe there's slightly less competition in those areas based on the research that you've done. And these are all the things that you can convey to people to give them a sense that this is a great time to move on these particular territories and reward those early movers who are looking at your business.
If, for example, you are talking with a prospect and they haven't indicated a specific area that they're looking for,
Mm,
they're not feeling very strong either way. I think this is important that you can actually highlight specific territories that you've already determined are probably quite a strong fit,
yeah,
and based on factors like competition or the demographic spread, say, or lack of like I said, lack of competition, etc. So beyond demographics and say boundaries that we've talked about, how can you more fully describe uh, why a territory is more attractive, say,
sure.
when you're having that conversation? Because it goes beyond just being like, okay, it's got a X amount of population, or
Yeah.
it's this specific boundary or this specific area. I mean, how can you really bring this to life when you're actually having that conversation?
Yeah, sure. There's a number of ways you can do that. The first one is to use comparatives. So, for example, you can say this territory has a higher, has higher income than the city average, for example, or this territory has a higher density of people in your target demographic than the city average. So that's a comparative measure. And then beyond that, you can think about, start thinking ahead. How is the franchisee thinking about developing this market? For example, where might they open in future? So maybe you can highlight where the retail areas are to show them that there are potentially sites that they can go and look at. Might be retail, might be light industrial, depending on the particular brand. The competitive aspects, you shouldn't necessarily hide them, but if there are opportunities, because maybe it's a growth suburb and other brands haven't got there yet. So it's really about, rather than just having a table with some numbers in it, it's also being a bit descriptive in what's going on in that territory. Use natural language and invest a bit of time in sort of presenting that territory. It can take a bit of time if you've got 100 territories to sell in a city. But we see that people who do this are seeing better results because they're really giving the fuller picture about what's going on in that territory.
It's fully articulating that story, really showcasing for the franchisee, or the prospect at least, the business opportunity within that area, and just adding that story to it using the data. It's not just here's a table or here's a piece of data.
Right.
It's actually it's a full articulation of that opportunity, because you want people to be excited about buying in, to your franchise, your business, etc. So I suppose I think let's put a more visual slant on this now. So, like, how would you share information about a territory with a prospect? I mean, walk me through how that process works.
Yeah, so sure, Lawrence. Let me share my screen here with you for a minute. So let's come back to our Sydney territory map that we were looking at in the previous talk. So we have a range of territories available on the map.
So just to wind back a little bit, so just to zoom out a second here. So this is, we've had the initial meeting with the franchisee. We may have discussed some areas, and now we're in the meeting of, okay, we're looking at like what areas are out there and what's available, and what are the best opportunities here. So this would be either in the same room or remotely, like we're doing now. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of paint that picture.
And in fact, there's a couple of ways you can approach that. The map starts off as an internal tool that you and your team can use. It can be shared with others, either in person in that physical setting, or you can send a link for somebody to explore the map on their own. That's if you want them to give them sort of the complete picture. You could sell that from the point of view of allowing them to do their own homework, for example. You can say, okay, here are all the territories available. These are the ways that you can filter territories to find the ones with the highest income, for example. You might need to guide them in that process. The second way you can do that is to pick a number of territories based on information that they've given you and send them out proposed territories, if you like. And let me show you how that scenario would play out.
Cool.
So, for example, if they've indicated an interest in North Sydney here, we've got a Camaray territory. So this is me as the franchisor or the operator of the map, maybe one of my sales team staff. So the idea here is they've indicated a particular area that they're interested in, and we want to share with them what's available for that territory, both in the boundary and the demographic profile, which you can see in the pop-up on the left here. So in the context where we want to send them a PDF or a print of that territory, we can easily do that. And so the point is place names are visible, the boundaries are clear, where the territory follows that, roads and so forth. And then we've got that demographic summary in the corner. This is just the tabular view. You can prepare other information about that territory, the comparatives, as we spoke about before. But this is certainly a great way to present, real information. It's clear information, just to assure them that this is a great opportunity. So let me give you another scenario where perhaps the prospect hasn't indicated a particular preference for an area, and maybe they've asked for a few options. And in this particular map, we've got quite a few territories, more than 50 available. But let's say we wanted to present the highest income or a selection of high income territories to them to choose from. So ideally, we can filter on that basis. So let's say territories where the median income is above 65,000. Okay, so there are 8 matching territories that meet that criteria. So we could send them to that both as a list or a link to the map, and then they can, maybe they're looking at multiple units, they can have a look and see what's on offer.
So it could be, so you can send a PDF. You could also sit with someone and do a query to find out specific areas and then perhaps send a list. And then there's also the case of just sitting down, sending the map, and then people can explore it themselves, take a look around at all the different data points, whether it's you've got competitors on there or the demographic stuff that you've built in, the points of interest that we talked about. So I suppose it's quite malleable, but the fundamental point is it's about presenting that opportunity, right, and offering those demographic data points, points of interest, etc., to really bring that to life.
Yeah, that's right. And you'll find a lot of buyers are fairly sophisticated. They're just hungry for knowledge and hungry for information. So if you provide them a bit of guidance and the ability to do a bit of research on their own, I think they're going to really respond to that. That openness about the process is certainly going to engage them in that. And I think ultimately it's going to lead to a better outcome.
Yeah, so this is something that we've seen. We've been active in the franchise industry for the past few years now. We've worked with a lot of different companies, and we've seen this play out time and again in terms of the value of not just Mango, but in terms of the presenting territories and adopting a territory-based model driven by demographic data and boundary data, etc. So I think that maybe what we could do now is, I think let's just do a recap of everything, because this is the last video that you and I will be doing. There'll be more videos coming from other speakers later. But just to recap the full extent of what we've gone through. We've gone through why territories, about the different types of data that you can use, and then putting it all together. So I think let's probably just do a summary for everyone watching and just walk step by step through that.
Sure. Well, let's start off with wire territories, and we touched on this a little bit in this today's talk. It's really about providing clarity around what's going on in an area. It allows you for somebody to reserve an area without having a site selected. Obviously, sites are very important. Not all businesses have sites. Mobile businesses, for example, um, mobile businesses, obviously, territories are very, very important. But where there's a site-focused business, it allows you to, engage with a prospect and have them develop the site later. So that's a great reason to use territories. It ensures that you're not going to have conflict down the track between adjacent franchisees. Everybody's going to have enough of a market to address on their own. They're going to be viable businesses. This is a theme that we're really seeing right now in the franchise industry is about sustainability. A few years ago, it was about selling as many units as possible and really packing them in. But I think that model has proven to have some shortfalls. So now people are really seeking to work with their franchisees and make sure they have really good, viable businesses and create a win-win for both the franchisor and the franchisee. So that's the why of territories. Then if we've sort of committed or we're interested to look further at a territory mapping approach, it's really about finding the demographic data that's required to describe that territory and to define the territory. So that's information around age, income, employment type, and a whole range of factors. As we mentioned, it's very important to keep it focused and not to get overwhelmed with the many dozens or even hundreds of demographic factors that are available. Stick to the key ones and build out. The key ones being population, age, income, number of households, and then go from there. And then it's really thinking about how to bound those areas. Do we go to a zip code or a postcode? Do we use a statistical area? There are pros and cons of each. But once we've selected our boundary type and our demographic variables, then we can start thinking about building territories. How large should a territory be? That's an interesting question. It varies from business to business. If a franchisor is already operating successful sites, they'll probably have a good sense of what that number looks like. Think about things like how far are people willing to travel for that particular service. Where they travel in the inner city might be different to the regional areas because of traffic and so forth. So there's no one answer, and it can be an answer that becomes clearer over time. But start with areas that and form a territory in that place. See if it makes sense. You can get too overly analytical in this sense, but stick to some principles and get your sizing right, and then you can think about rolling out or mapping a whole city, for example, with territories. So then you've got your territories in hand with your demographic data. It's also very useful to understand about what else is going on in the area, who are the competitors, what other kinds of business might draw customers to an area, maybe in terms of shopping or fitness or just gathering places. So that's important, just to help the franchisee think about the business opportunity and how they might develop the business in that area. They might also be thinking about where to locate. Are there sufficient retail areas or other areas where that business could set up if it's a physical business? So all this helps them to understand and think about planning for the next stage. And then once we've got all this together, as we talked about today, it's really about putting it in front of somebody. In a way that engages them, in a way that helps guide them to a good decision about what to invest in, not to overwhelm them, just throw everything at them. And to really work with them to choose something that they're confident and you're confident is going to work and lead to a successful outcome.
Sure, I think that's a really important point. That last point that you made, the whole process of that we go through in order to get to the point where you're very confident in what you're offering your prospective franchisee, your investor, essentially. It's We talk about the sales process and how having all that information, empowers the sales process. But it's not just about hot air. It's actually about having all of the information so that you can give an engaging pitch and with all the information that the person needs, because essentially it's a relationship that you're entering into, a very important relationship on both sides. So it's about building that trust. It's about having all of the salient points about a specific territory It's about saying to that person and promising them and saying, okay, if you invest in my company, this is your area and it's
Yeah.
not going to be infringed upon by someone else. This is your market. This is what you're buying into. I think that's a
Yeah.
really important point, and I think it's probably a great point to end on. So yeah, we've gone through the whole process here. I mean, we've been working heavily in the franchise industry over the past 5 years. I think that the whole point of this summit was just to try and pass on everything that we've learned.
Right.
So if you're watching and you are just starting this process, you're a startup, you're a new brand, you're a single outlet, for example, and you're looking to start franchising, or whether you've been franchising a while and you want to switch to that territory model, we hope that the information in this summit has been really valuable and has given you food for thought. We haven't held anything back. This is everything that we've learned over the past 5 years, all of the really important points that go into adopting a territory strategy, about the data, about the sources of data, about the best sources of data being free in the census, or these type of things that we have learned. So yeah, we hope that you found this really useful. Paul, if people would like to get in touch with you directly and just have a conversation about this, about how it works, and pick your brain a little bit, how can they get in touch with you?
Sure. Probably the easiest way is at the MangoMap website, mangomap.com. There's a contact us link there, or people are welcome to email me directly at Paul, Paul, at mangomap.com. And I'd just say one final thought there, Lawrence. A lot of people put off doing territory mapping because they think it's going to be complicated or expensive. And obviously, during that startup phase, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of activity. But I'd certainly say it's not as complicated or as difficult as you might think. If you leave it to later, you might have to deal with some issues like territories that are too large. That's a common scenario that we see, and it can just sort of be a distraction going forward. So certainly, really think about including territories as part of your strategy from the very beginning. And we believe, and we've seen a lot of brands do a lot better by doing so.
I think to wrap up there, don't put it off. There is a step-by-step process to follow. And like I said, and if anyone wants to learn any more, I think if you're watching and you want to talk to Paul, or you want to talk to one of our team about this, feel free to get in touch. Head to the MangoMap website. I think we can also probably leave a link down below. Email us any questions or book a call with us directly. We'll be glad to talk to you more. So yeah, thank you for watching, and thank you for joining me today, Paul, and sharing all of your knowledge. Is there any final words that you would like to say?
No, I think my previous words covered most of it. But I really love working with people in different businesses. Everyone's unique. Everyone has particular, I wouldn't say challenges, but particular aspects to be teased out of the business model. And how can we help the franchisor to form great territories and get going? So it's really maps of visual. I find them fun. Not everybody finds them fun, but they're a really great part of any business. So yeah, don't delay. Get started today.
Awesome. So, well, yeah, thanks for joining me. And anyone who watching want to get in touch, we'll leave the link or just contact Paul directly. Thank you for watching. We do have more talks coming up today, but we will see you in future. If you haven't watched any of the previous videos, please go back and watch them because there's tons of value in there. Thank you for watching, and we will hope to see you soon.